We are here with our first episode of the 40K Roundtable discussion. The topic today will be about 40K acquiring new members, new players. Given a quick introduction, Warhammer 40K by Games Workshop can be an impressive game to witness, and this often translates to its continued success. However, barriers to entry can be steep for new players. Cost of the rulebook, army codex, and the miniatures, never mind a complex rule system that is exception-based, and a plethora of supplements that break the rules laid out in the core rulebook. So, with me today is my panel. First off, there's Bootleg from Bootleg Painting.
What's going on, guys?
Next up is SolidSmurf, who is the co-host or the co-host.
How's it going?
Fantastic. And last but not least is Chef 40K.
What's up, gangsters?
Question number 1. With cost being an identified barrier to entry for new players, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a non-issue, 10 being so severe that there will be no new players. We'll start with Chef 40K. How much of an issue is GW's recent increase in model costs?
I think it really depends on the age of the player.
We're looking for a
how
number
much
here.
Support. I don't know. 7.
Okay. SolidSmurf,
7.
You're up.
I would go with 5 because I think parents are always going to be willing to shell out that money for their kids because, oh, Jimmy's got a new hobby. Let's go fuel the hobby. So they're always willing to put that money forth, just like with a band or soccer or whatever. It's just another thing, whether it be fad of the week or something long term. And also, as long as, once they start playing, they're always going to be willing to pay. So that's my answer.
All right, Bootleg, you're up. Give me a number.
I'd say an 8. I just know when I started, I had to put it off for years because I couldn't afford it. Didn't have the experience.
Fantastic. I'm here to tell you guys that you're all wrong. The answer is a 3. The model costs were already expensive, unbelievably expensive to begin with, so the increase in cost, while there will be a bit of a delay in getting new players because of it, it's not going to be anything super big. Continue debate here, guys?
Man, it really depends on the age. I know I can afford it because I work my butt off to afford it. But, little Jimmy, who's 10 years old, or when I was 10 years old, I know I had to, do a month of mowing just to get a little box set of Death Company, that was, whatever, $40 back in the day or back in 2nd edition. But, I had to work for it. So, it all depends. It really depends on how much the parents are going to give to the kid or not.
I guess I just see that it's an added expense, and believe me, I think it does have an impact. I just think if you look at just the increase itself, that it's not as big as a deal as the fact that the models before the increase were already really expensive. So, all right, sweet. Let's get on to question number 2. By the way, we can always leave with not actually liking each other's answers. That's totally fine. Don't want you to think that you have to be like, oh, I agree now. Question number 2. If you were GW, is the increase in cost a good financial move? And this time we will start with SolidSmurf.
I'm going to say yes, as long as we're moving towards more plastic kits and throwing in more bits in the current boxes.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Let's go to Bootleg. How you feeling about, if you're GW, not the player, if you're GW, is the increase in cost a good thing?
Well, yeah, bottom line's bottom line. I mean, they've been ripping our wallets this long, so let's keep doing it.
All right. Chef 40K, let's go ahead and have your take on this.
I pretty much have to agree with Bootleg. They're a business. They have to make money. If they can increase the prices and we'll still shell out the cash for it, why not?
Excellent point. My take on it is that, it does help with the bottom line, but I think the problem has to do with actually their veteran players who have been paying the less expensive cost up until now, and the fear of losing some of them based on the fact that I don't know about you guys, but I have no intention of ever really playing a 500-point game. So if I ever enter into a second army, realizing that I'm going to be buying quite a bit of models and it's not going to be $300, it's going to be, $400, whatever, might persuade me not to bother. Your guys' continued debate, or should we move on to the next question?
We've been putting up with it until we make a stand and say enough's enough. They're just going to keep raping our wallets. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just the bottom line until somebody finally says that's it, and enough people do it. They're just going to keep doing it.
Well, and the real problem is that, they're talking about the fact that this increase in cost is going to help them make them, spend money for the really expensive plastic molds to create more plastic kits. The question that I have is, once they're able to actually produce plastic models for all these things that were pewter and more expensive for them to, A, make, and 2, ship because they're so heavy, will the cost come back down? I'm thinking that just like taxes, when the politicians have it come through, it's not going to be repealed. Solid.
Yeah, look at it so far.
But on the other hand, once those plastic kits do come out, that doesn't mean, cost of metal's going up again. They're not going to have to increase the price because we have those plastic kits. So I really think in the long run this is going to save us money. I think, yes, we're going to hurt a little bit now, but in the long run, it's not going to hurt as bad.
Chef, are you feeling like inflation is inflation, but possibly with the plastic kits, the inflation on 40K moving forward past this little hurdle that we're dealing with right now might be delayed quite a bit?
Yeah, I basically agree with Smurf. It sucks now, especially now with the whole recession deal and everyone's struggling a bit, that they did it now. But, it kind of has to happen. If you want everything to be plastic, then it has to happen.
Okay, guys, I'm actually going to
Everyone wants plastic.
Just for a second here. Do you think that the recession itself actually caused the increase in price?
No.
I don't know. I'm not an analyst. I'm not no financial analyst, so I don't know.
Well, that's why you're on this show.
I play Warhammer. I don't think.
Have you seen their figures? Like the end year figures or the quarterly figures? They make millions.
Right.
And when they went to plastic, when a kit went from metal to plastic, it didn't lower.
Right.
They just bagged more money.
Well, but the Laid Raider Crusader did go down in price. It did. That dropped $5. So I got to give them props for that. And
they threw in bits for a Redeemer, so they added more plastic into the kit.
So, okay. Well, this will be interesting to see what happens once the fruits of all our added expense actually comes about. Let's move on to question number 3. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being impossible, 10 being a certainty, with so many other forms of entertainment available, how easy is it to create a 40K tabletop player from someone who has never played the game? And for this, we're going to start with, who haven't we started with yet? Bootleg? Let's jump to you first.
I'd say a 4 just from personal experience.
4, and why would you? What's your personal experience?
Well, I've tried getting people into it. Now I have multiple armies, so as long as they were playing with my armies, they were fine. When they found out how much it was, that was the end of the discussion. They'd play with my pieces, but they weren't going to go out and buy their own.
Gotcha.
You want me to play a $700 game? That's a hard sell.
That is a bit of a hard sell. Chef, let's go to you, man.
Yeah, I'd give it like a 4 or 5. 4 or 5 again. I'm gonna go with 5.
Okay. So you're thinking
Just
it's actually
because-
less of a complication than so the fact that there's
Slightly.
other forms of industry or other forms of entertainment.
Slightly. I'm giving it a 5 out of 10 because I guess maybe it's the circle of people that I hang out with, but some of them have a little bit of expendable income that they might be interested in. But again, I'm doing it with 4 or 5 of my friends I play 40K with the most. So for me, it's not an issue, I find. I can get new people in because most of our friends, it's one big circle, and it's really easy to snatch them in and get them involved, because we're always doing something 40K related usually.
Smurf, we're heading on to you, my man.
One of us. I'm going to give it a 3. Many people don't understand, of throwing dice, and I think really 40K is about a long-term investment. A lot of people I know are really into things with instant gratification. Boom, I pay $5, I see a movie, I enjoy it. Boom, I go eat a nice meal for $30, I enjoy it. Whereas with 40K or fantasy or whatever wargaming, you sit down for a couple hours, you build the minis. You sit down for a couple hours, you paint it. You put that long-term investment, so
all right.
like that.
And actually, I actually think pretty much along the same lines as Smurf. I think the problem is that it definitely is an age-based thing. The people coming up, the younger generation of 40K players, I think it's definitely a 3, and I would just say 3 overall. It's hard to make that transition when you can drop $40 and know that that's the last you're going to have to pay and play a game online. But again, I'm hopeful that isn't the case, but I'm feeling like it's a 3.